Everyone talks about bugging out like it's a guaranteed escape plan, but the truth is, most preppers won't even make it past day one. Now, let's talk about the fantasy of bugging out. Hollywood has a knack for selling us the idea of bugging out as if it's an epic action movie. You grab your bug-out bag, give a dramatic goodbye, and disappear into the wilderness. Sounds thrilling, doesn't it? But in reality, it's anything but. When disaster strikes, you're not jetting off into a sunset. You're more likely to be stuck in traffic, surrounded by chaos, blocked roads, and a sea of equally panicked people. Exhaustion sets in quickly when you're on the run, and without a clear destination, you're just wandering aimlessly. This is where most bug-out plans start to unravel. They sound good on paper, sure, but when the rubber meets the road, so to speak, those plans often crumble. If your plan doesn't account for the realities of a crisis situation, if it doesn't factor in the unpredictable nature of disasters, then it's already failed. It's easy to get wrapped up in the fantasy of bugging out. The idea of surviving against all odds, of being the lone wolf who makes it out when everyone else is struggling, can be intoxicating. But it's just that, a fantasy. The reality is much harsher, much more demanding. Bugging out isn't about playing the hero, it's about survival, pure and simple. And survival requires more than a well-stocked bug-out bag and a sense of adventure. It requires a solid plan, a clear destination, and the will to keep going when everything else is falling apart. So, if your bug-out plan sounds like a scene from an action movie, it's time to rethink your strategy. Because when it comes to survival, reality doesn't care about Hollywood fantasies. The only thing that matters is how well you're prepared for the harsh realities of bugging out. Heading to the forest or to a cabin isn't a plan, it's a death sentence. Now, that might sound a bit dramatic, but let's take a moment to unpack this. You see, in the world of prepping, having a specific destination in mind is absolutely crucial. It's not enough to just say, I'll head to the hills or I'll find a cabin in the woods. These vague ideas are not real plans. They are, at best, a hopeful shot in the dark, and at worst, a dangerous delusion that could cost you your life. A real bug-out plan requires a specific, secured, and stocked destination. You need to know exactly where you're going, not just the general area, but the exact location. You need to have that place secured, meaning it's a place where you can defend yourself and your supplies from any potential threats. And it needs to be stocked with food, water, medical supplies, and everything else you might need to survive in the long term. Without these elements, your bug-out plan isn't a plan at all. It's just a refugee scenario. You're essentially just hoping to find somewhere safe, somewhere you can survive. But hope isn't a strategy. Hope won't keep you safe, and it certainly won't keep you alive. Think about it this way. If you were going on a long road trip, you wouldn't just get in your car and start driving without a destination in mind, would you? Of course not. You'd plan your route, you'd know where you're going to stop for gas, for food, for rest. You'd have a clear endpoint in mind. The same principle applies to bugging out. A real plan requires a real destination. Anything less is just a recipe for disaster. So if your current bug-out plan involves a vague destination like the forest or a cabin, it's time to rethink that plan. It's time to get specific, to get secure, and to get stocked. Without a clear destination, your bug-out plan is a one-way ticket to nowhere. Can you carry 30 pounds for 10+ miles a day over uneven terrain with minimal food? If not, your bug-out plan is already in jeopardy. Physical fitness. It's the first enemy you'll face in a bug-out scenario. It's not the most glamorous topic, nor is it the most exciting, but it's one of the most important. You see, bugging out isn't just about having the right gear or the right plan, it's about having the right body. Imagine this scenario. You're carrying a backpack that weighs 30 pounds, you're hiking over hills, through forests, across streams. You're doing this for hours on end, day after day, and you're doing it on a diet that's far from ideal. This isn't a leisurely camping trip, this is survival. Now ask yourself, are you physically capable of doing this? Because if you're not, no amount of gear or planning is going to save you. Your body will be your biggest liability. It will betray you when you need it the most. Most preppers fail to prepare for this aspect. They spend hours and hours planning their routes, packing their bags, and acquiring survival skills. But they neglect their physical fitness. They fail to realize that all their plans and preparations will be useless if their bodies can't handle the demands of bugging out. Bugging out is a physical ordeal. It's not just about endurance, but also strength, agility, and resilience. You'll need to be able to carry heavy loads for long distances. You'll need to be able to navigate difficult terrain. You'll need to be able to withstand the elements. You'll need to be able to keep going when your body is screaming at you to stop. So, if you're serious about bugging out, get serious about your physical fitness. Start training now. Build up your strength and endurance. Get used to carrying a loaded backpack. Get used to hiking over rough terrain. Get used to pushing your body beyond its comfort zone. Because when the time comes to bug out, it's your body that's going to carry you to safety. Remember, survival isn't just about having the right gear or the right plan. It's about having the right body. Your gear is useless if your body gives out first. Too many people pack everything or nothing useful. It seems like a simple enough task, right? Grab a bag and fill it with survival gear. However, the reality is anything but straightforward. More often than not, the gear is either overloaded or underprepared. When you're packing for a bug-out scenario, it's crucial to remember that your bag is your lifeline. It's the one thing that's going to help you survive in a world thrown into chaos. And here's where many people falter. They either pack too much, turning their bug-out bag into a veritable supermarket aisle, or they pack too little, missing out on essential survival items. Let's talk about the first scenario, overpacking. Imagine lugging around a bag that's bursting at the seams, filled with all sorts of gear that seemed essential at the time of packing. But when you're on the move, every ounce counts. Every unnecessary item is a burden, slowing you down and sapping your energy. Your bug-out bag isn't a comfort kit, it's a survival kit. It needs to be lean, efficient, and packed with only the bare essentials. Now let's consider the second scenario, underprepared gear. This is when the bug-out bag lacks basic survival items. We're talking about things like water filtration systems, medical supplies, or shelter equipment. They might seem inconsequential when you're packing, but their absence could be the difference between life and death in a survival scenario. So what should you do? The key is to strike a balance. Your bug-out bag should have all the essentials but nothing more. It should be light enough to carry over long distances, yet comprehensive enough to cover your basic survival needs. Remember, it's about survival, not comfort. To achieve this balance, you need to test your gear. Take it out for a spin, go on a hike, spend a night in the woods, and see how it holds up. This will give you a clear idea of what's necessary and what's not. Your bug-out bag is your lifeline. Don't let it become your downfall. Remember, in a bug-out scenario, your gear can either be your saving grace or your Achilles heel. It's up to you to ensure it's the former. If you're in a city, getting out could take days, and you're not alone. The urban environment presents unique challenges when it comes to bugging out. It's not just the high population density, it's the chaos that can ensue when everyone is trying to leave at once. The highways will become parking lots, gas will run out, and violence may spike as tensions rise. Picture this. You're in a metropolis with millions of people, and each person has the same basic instinct: to survive. Now imagine all those people trying to get out at the same time. It's a recipe for disaster. In a city, the traditional exit routes will be clogged with desperate people. Everyone will be heading for the highways, creating gridlock that makes escape nearly impossible. This is why your bug-out plan needs to include alternate routes. These could be less traveled roads, paths through parks, or even waterways. The key is to avoid the main roads that everyone else will be using. And it's not just about knowing alternative routes out of the city, it's about knowing how to navigate them. This is where maps come into play. GPS might be unreliable in a crisis situation. Having detailed physical maps of your city and the surrounding area is crucial. Then there's the issue of moving silently. In a city escape, stealth can be your greatest ally. You want to avoid attracting attention, as this can lead to unwanted confrontations. This means moving at night, avoiding well-lit areas, and staying quiet. Remember, bugging out isn't about brute force. It's about strategy. It's about being one step ahead of the crowd and making smart decisions that keep you safe. In the chaos of a city escape, your bug-out plan must be smarter, not harder. So don't just plan to survive, plan to thrive. Because when the city becomes a death trap, it's your cunning, not your muscle, that will see you through. What if your destination is already overrun? What if you get injured? These are questions you must ask yourself when planning your bug-out strategy. It's not enough to have a destination in mind, you also need to have a plan B. And not just a plan B, but re-entry strategies as well. Think about it. You've made it to your bug-out location only to find it's already occupied or inaccessible. Now what? Without a secondary plan, you're stuck in limbo, vulnerable and exposed. That's why it's critical to have a backup location in mind. A place you can go if your primary destination falls through. And remember, this Plan B location needs to be just as well researched and prepared as your initial choice. But let's consider another scenario. What if you get injured? Whether it's a sprained ankle or something much worse, injuries can and do happen, especially under stressful conditions. You need to have a plan for that too. How will you get medical help? Do you have a first aid kit, and do you know how to use it? Do you know basic first aid techniques? It's not enough to rely on hope and good luck. Preparation is key, and then there's the question of re-entry. What happens if you need to return from whence you came? This could be because your bug-out location didn't work out, or maybe the threat has passed and it's safe to return home. Either way, you need to have a strategy for getting back. This includes knowing your route, having enough supplies for the journey, and having a way to confirm it's safe to return. Without these considerations, your bug-out plan is incomplete. It's like setting out on a journey without a map. You might get lucky and find your way, but chances are you'll get lost. And in a survival situation, getting lost can be deadly. So before you pack your bag and head for the hills, take a moment to think about your plan B. Because a bug-out plan without a plan B is a recipe for disaster. Hunger, weather, fear, isolation, exhaustion. Bugging out will break most people mentally before physically. The human mind is a powerful tool, but it can also be our greatest weakness. In the face of a crisis, it's not just our bodies we have to prepare, it's our minds as well. We must be ready to face the mental challenges that come with bugging out. Imagine this. You are in the middle of nowhere, perhaps in a dense forest or a deserted landscape, far from the comfort of your home. You're alone, hungry, cold, and scared. You're tired, but you can't rest. You have to keep moving. You're on constant high alert, scanning your surroundings for danger. This is the reality of bugging out, and it's a test of mental endurance as much as it is physical. Fear is a powerful emotion, and in a survival situation, it can be both a motivator and a hindrance. It's normal to be scared. We're wired for self-preservation after all. But letting fear take the wheel can lead to panic, and panic can lead to mistakes. We must learn to control our fear, to use it to our advantage. Isolation is another challenge. Humans are social creatures, and being alone for extended periods can take a toll on our mental health. We must be ready to cope with the loneliness, the silence, the lack of human interaction. Then there's the ever-looming threat of exhaustion. Sleep deprivation, hunger, and physical fatigue can cloud our judgment, slow our reaction times, and lead to despair. But giving in to exhaustion is not an option. We must push through, stay alert, stay alive. All these challenges, they demand mental endurance. We need to be mentally prepared to adapt, to suffer, to stay sharp. We need to train our minds to remain calm under pressure, to make rational decisions in the face of danger, to endure the hardships and keep going. Your bug-out plan is as much a test of your mind as it is of your body. So remember, when you're packing your bug-out bag and planning your route, don't forget to prepare your mind as well. Because in the wild, your survival depends on it.